Hello, everyone. My name is Rodney. Welcome to Shedskin's Ideas. The last video I made was about Kaiju 8, and before that was a video game concept idea for Naruto, which I called Shinobi Universe. Naruto Shinobi Universe. Um, I mentioned I was going to do a PowerPoint because I do have a PowerPoint made. Um, I'm dealing with some issues at the moment, but I thought I'd mention some um of the basic ideas that I had that were in my older videos from 2 years ago. Um, so I'll just get to it. So in the previous Naruto games, you would put your hands together to gather chakra. And in the real Naruto universe, when you use chakra, you lose it unless you have some special way of gathering chakra. A lot of the things about the Naruto games is that all it is a fighting game, but it doesn't feel like the Naruto world, and I don't really feel like a lot of the characters um, are equally enjoyable. So, how do we make a Naruto game stand out more? Make it tailor it more to what Naruto really is. And I had this idea where it all comes down to the controller. This is my idea. Anyone says anything different, they're lying. Okay. So, how do we make a mud wall? How do we have a fireball? How do we have a lightning wolves? How do we have all these jutsus? How are we able to actually like do them without having to choose from just this and that, or for some reason? So a lot of there's some Naruto games out there that fans are making, and they look amazing, they look cool, but it's still just not hitting the spot. A lot of it has you just get all these jutsus, all these whatever, and then you just press a button, and then you can do it, and it has a cooldown system. I'm not fond with the cooldown system, and I don't like how a in the Naruto universe you can have thousands of moves and do them at will as you please. As you can spam as many times as you like until you run out of chakra and then you die. So how do we put that in the game? So here we go. So the game has to be played with an elite controller with the paddles in the back. You hit two of the paddles together, your hands will come together. At this point, you're able to use a sequence of your buttons. So be AAXY. So four for this, maybe eight, like seven A's to do this skill or ability. When you put your hands together, do you stay still? No. Once your hands are locked, you can actually move still, and you could use your thumb or whatever buttons that you assign to a specific jutsu. Now, with we'll just say the four main buttons. That's four to the fourth power, and that's only if you were going to just do a combination of um, four different. Um, if you were just only going to input four buttons, it doesn't mean you can't put in a sequence of 8 or 10. So this actually leaves room for jutsus you want to be able to do like this, or ones that take longer because you still need to cultivate it and get better and level it up so you can uh, put a shorter sequence in. So, how do you make the sequence shorter? One of the ways of doing that would be having chakra control. The more chakra control you have, the more you can control um, be more efficient with your skills and jutsus. And also, the more times you use the skill, the better you naturally get at it. Um, that is the main that's the golden ticket to making the best Naruto, in my opinion, uh, game. I mean, do we need a Naruto game? We don't need any more, and it's sad. I like Naruto, but Bandai Namco talks about how innovation, like, is a part of their 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 core. But the Naruto games really haven't progressed. Um, the jutsus look nice. I mean, the graphics look nice, but the fighting overall is just it's it's. I just don't see it having any longevity. It's not gonna be in the same caliber or tier as other fighting games, such as like Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighters. It's it's a good fighting game, but it doesn't hold any weight. There are a lot of Naruto fans that would get the game because of their loyalties. But at some point, there's going to be a young generation that is just not going to be into Naruto as much as it is still as strong as it is now. So that's my idea for how we can mechanically make a more immersive Naruto game. So I had four core modes, and I'll go through them briefly. So first mode would be story mode, and story mode is actually broken down to two. So in a way, you can think of it as five modes. In story mode, there's Naruto mode, and then there's Sasuke mode. And no, you're not playing Naruto's life and then Sasuke's life. Naruto life, yes. And what you're gonna do is the very basic beginner stuff. You know, you're a kid, you're in the village, you go to the academy, you graduate the academy, you go through the tuning exams, you do the whole early bit. And then once it gets to a certain point, then it becomes more about the non-canon movies. So I believe that the reason why they haven't done the a storyline based on movies, and it's always just the original Naruto story that we see over and over and over again in every Naruto game that gets released. The reason why they don't do that is I believe it has to do with ownership rights with the movie. So it's one of those things where if I was going to be hired for this project, I would I would give 80% of whatever they're offering me to make anyone a part of that has ownerships and rights to that to make this possible. And I think that's pretty good considering that it's all about, it's just money, it's business, it's no big deal, right? This opens up a relationship with other anime studios to make more anime games. Of course, this would only apply to certain animes that are really protected, but nonetheless, it opens up doorways to have more options of what can be made. With this mechanic feature that I told you about with the controller, is something that doesn't even have to be in Naruto. Imagine just even though this idea sounds uh, creative and kind of childish, I believe there's still something to consider or think about when I tell you this idea. Imagine a race car game, and there's all these different environments like lava, ice, and whatever. Now you have a futuristic car, and when you want it to transform, shit, it could be a transformer game. um, where you're an Autobot or whatever, and you put in a sequence, and then you change into the desired vehicle or um, mechanical uh, object. So ice is about to show up, and you're not that ice. We'll say just the slippery kind. And you want your tires to have spikes on it. Your car is made out of nanotechnology, so you can put in a sequence, and then your car changes to having spikes or some type of chains to get through the ice area. Um, or even a shooter game. Imagine not having to choose between two guns all the time or using a perk to carry a third gun. Um, where you have a nano gun that change um, can change its form, but maybe you need a certain amount of, we'll say, um, like if I have like 8 of these, then it's the equivalent of making a sniper rifle. But if I have anything less than that, I can make anything, and the rest of the nanos can go to like my defense, my armor, something like that, right? So instead of picking up guns, or you can still pick up guns and pick up whatever it is, the nano boxes, um, pick up blueprints because guns could be designed differently, have different models, and instead of like unlocking different attachments, it could be where you have to make a selection of this or that attachment. And which was an idea that I had a long time ago for a game that I it was like Stairway to Heaven was my game idea, where some paranormal thing happens, and now heaven opens up its cloud doors, and hell also is like releasing shit into the world, and you need to get on top of this skyscraper or whatever, and you're just going up the stair sets, but you're fighting all these weird demons, creatures, weird shit like rabbits with teeth, zombies, weird demons, weird blob monsters with teeth, just whatever. But the goal was to get to the top, and you have a choice to either go go up to heaven, or you can jump off, or if you don't go up the stairs in enough time, that the horde of monsters that come out to get you forces you off the ledge, and then you fall to hell. But through that progression, when you start leveling up, you have your gun, and you either have this option to choose from or this attachment. If you get this attachment, then you can only branch off and do certain things. So there's certain attachments that you won't ever get. So same concept. Uh, you can have a branching attachment system, and then you can find someone else's gun laying down, and then you can collect information on that blueprint. And if you have enough of these, you can go to HQ, put in the blueprint idea, and just like spending tokens or credits to buy a new gun, it's you use this much credits to build that blueprint. Kind of like that's generally what I'm thinking. So with the Naruto idea, that that mechanic, the elite controller mechanism, I believe is great because if the controller has only 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, up, down, so there's tons of buttons on a controller, and we're used to them being assigned to specific functions and features. So really, at the end of the day, it has a limit. but it has always had the potential to do more. And that's what this idea is. But you have to have, uh, I'm pretty sure you don't have to have the designers, developers, and whatever, just brain people. I'm pretty sure they can make it possible without an elite controller. But adding the double paddles a great way, is a good way to just have more buttons to choose from to do certain things. Like a button for substitution, you choose a button for um, just a block, um, a button for a hard hit, or a button to quick counter instead of using the analog and flicking it to the left or right to rotate around your enemy. That there can just be different types of tactics that can be created and made, and have a button or an option to make that possible without sacrificing any other mechanic. Um, so Naruto mode, you do his young life stuff. You do the movies. Then there's Sasuke mode. Sasuke mode are just like famous battles, like Hashirama versus Madara, and you get to choose one or the other. And I choose Hashirama. That's weird. I don't know why I said that. I would choose Madara, but say I chose Hashirama. I do a little like character tutorial demo. Not really, just a little section for him to run around and whatever, and do a little something here and there. And then I meet up with Madara, and then I fight him, and then I beat him, and then I go to the next stage, which is maybe choosing between um, the third Hokage versus Orochimaru. And then you do that until all the characters are done and you have half characters that you have not unlocked. Then you go to battle mode. Battle mode is where you have your unlocked characters, and they'll have mission objectives on the side. We'll say the Madara challenge. So the Madara challenge will uh, find players online that have the Madara skin or character, and I have to beat 100 Madara characters in order to unlock Madara. Wake up to reality. um, Other challenges for different costumes, different skins, because when you think of Hashirama, you probably think of the red armor, the black underfit, but maybe his Hokage drip would be something you can unlock. Um, Unlocking a child form of him. There's the potential in that, right? And I think that would be great. Now there's Shinobi Universe. Um, so it's hard to make or have an idea. I don't really know how to put this, but we know that there was an Uchiha massacre. So it would not make sense to have thousands of Uchihas running around. But what if we can make it make sense just for the sake of fandom? So people can be the character that they want to be, right? So creating a storyline where the only one that I've really attached myself to, there's many different options, is that your mom or your dad is whatever clan, like for specifically for the Uchiha. Your mom and dad, one of them's an Uchiha, and they live in another village. We'll say the the Mist Village because that's where I would want to go. And they've been holding on to their identity for a long time in secrecy. And we'll just say that Hanzo doesn't even know. Um, we'll say the third Hokage knows, but doesn't release this information to anyone. So even though the massacre happens, you're still out there. Just a way to people to be able to choose the village that they want to go to, and having just like a basic intro to make things make sense. Because the last thing we want is tons of cutscenes in the Shinobi Universe aspect. I can see some cutscenes in the Naruto aspect because it deals with the movies, and just to throw in a little glimpse there. But the rest of the game, all the other modes shouldn't, uh, multiplayer shouldn't have it, and battle royale shouldn't have it. Also, certain villages, the Mist Village, didn't participate in the tuning exam. So how do we make that make sense? Well, if you go to the Mist, you'll have like a mission log, like a personal mission, not something that you get from uh, the Kage office, and it'd be the tuning exam, right? So you find your way out of out of the islands, and you make yourself to land, and you bump into maybe Kabuto or Orochimaru, and what happens is Kabuto goes, "Here, put on a Sound Village mask on. We're gonna meet up with my master Orochimaru, and we're gonna participate in the tuning exam. And if you help us, we'll give you power. Blah blah blah, whatever." And that way, you can still be from the mist and still participate in the tuning exam. Also, when I think about Shinobi Universe, I think of the legendary Sannin, Naruto, and then Sasuke and Sakura, Sadara, Mizuki, and Boruto. So, like those three, right? So, I feel like there should be, as I mentioned, the tuning exam for Mist Village, like another side, like a certain kind of quest where you can meet one of the legendary Sannin wherever they are, maybe Tsunade, that's gambling or whatever, and you meet up with her, you play a few games, you kind of become an apprentice for medical jutsus. Medical jutsu can help you take DNA from victims and do some experiments on yourself if you want to go that route. And probably like gambling, paying off debts, stuff like that. Something funny. Um, Learning from Shizun if you have Yin Yang release, how to do Yin Yang specific medical jutsus. Choosing Jiraiya, just going on a philosophical like quest, and just maybe get to see his geezerness in action. In Orochimaru, you go there if you want a curse mark or to do those medical experiments that you're talking about. But there should be some type of consequence that's assigned to it. So, Orochimaru, you can join him on a little quest, and he can tell you if you ever want to get power and be with me, go to this location, go to this shrine that has the snake head, put your blood on the tongue of the snake, and uh, funnel some chakra on the tongue. And then it opens up a freaking secret tunnel. You go in there, next thing you know, you're like knocked out and passed out. Or maybe a snake just summons, like a little snake pops out and then bites you in the hand, and then you pass out. Next thing you know, you're in Orochimaru's lair, and then you have to fight against all these other experiments and stuff like that. But once you're in, you're in. You can't like escape. If you were to choose Jiraiya and Tsunade, um, if you have any type of if if you do not have the clearance to go to Konoha, they can give you clearance. like a recommendation. If you're from Konoha already, you can still go on these adventures, um, but you don't really have to worry about not being able to go into the village. Some people might want to change their loyalties. You know, maybe they're from the Stone Village and they have the Akamichi bloodline in them. And maybe there can be an option of switching if you have a bloodline that derives from Konoha. There's some potential there. Um, so we'll next up we'll oh wait Naruto mode will have Easter eggs. Sasuke mode will have Easter eggs. These Easter eggs are things that you can do in Shinobi Universe. Um, one of them I can't really talk about, or I'll tell you. So Naruto steals the scroll, right? Learns Shadow Clone Jutsu. And you know there's probably flying Raijin in that scroll. There's probably all sorts of stuff in that scroll. So maybe a little Easter egg on how to get information about the scroll or the scroll itself, and learning in a short period of time as much as you can because you don't want to get caught. That's all I'll say about that. It goes more in depth on. I have, I already know exactly how that Easter egg would work. So let's go to the next is battle royale. So battle royale. Originally, I thought of the storm falling down, like rocks from the sky, uh, flooding, etc. The last video explains more about this. And that's about it for what I can tell you about the game modes. Let your imagination wander. Um, I don't think I've mentioned safety and security. I believe that for children's safety and also matchmaking purposes, to put in your birth date, and if there's a special gaming event where you want to compete, if who you were playing as does not match your information, you can be disqualified or even have your player removed. So you shouldn't be a 40-year-old man playing with 14-year-olders. Let all the kids under the age of 17 play with one another. Everyone from 18 to 25, whatever, and then 25 and up. And if you're in the top fucking 10 of your age division, then you can go up a notch and fight with, I wouldn't say veterans, just but older people. But definitely no 17-year-olders unless the next level up. It would be easy because when you're communicating, if it sounds like an older person, you can report it. Makes it a little bit easier that way. If you are a weirdo and you're 50 years old and then you say you're fucking 12 or some shit and then you happen to be the best 12-year-old and you want to go compete and then they look up the information and go, you're obviously fucking 50, dude. You know? So, a way to protect kids that way. And that should be with every game. It doesn't have to break the age down if you don't have to, but I think it's best to at least have the minors play with one another. Not that they can't compete with one another, uh, maybe multiplayer wise, But as far as co-op or cooperative, free roam, getting to know each other, talking and all that, no. And that's what I really have to say about that. Um, Next up is what is in the game. How do you level up? Quite simple. Mini games with other online players. You can fight with each other. You walk around your village. You can go to training grounds, and then like you can fight against one another. Maybe have a system where it says the criteria, where you can't use swords or you can't use fire ninjutsu or whatever, and you compete and you try to win. Blah blah blah. Um, or not or. The other ideas is training with Guy Sensei, the people who you know typical sequence matching, and you try not messing up on the sequence. And we'll say 6 players are competing against each other, and it's a push-up competition. Depending on the strength stats that you assign, your chakra, all sorts of criteria can affect how well you compete in certain competitions. And we'll say whoever just is able to do the most push-ups, right? Or the most pull-ups, who can run the farthest, the fastest. Um, that's one way to build up experience points. You can meet up with Kakashi and ask him to train and do certain things like racing around a village, running on logs, balancing yourself, trying to get through these um, obstacle courses. There's I will make a more in-depth video on that, but that will essentially be the way you level up without threatening combat. Meaning, it's all friends and fun. But when you leave the village, you never know who you're going to come across against. You don't know if it's going to be another villager or a shinobi from a different village, and you have no idea if they're going to be hostile or not. And if you run out of chakra, you die. Um, yeah, so I'm going to keep that right there, basic. Let me know what you think. I take great pride on that controller feature. I would love to hear y'all's suggestions. Um, and please share this. Please help my voice be heard. Uh, I would like to make a difference in gaming. I have tons of ideas. Um, yeah. All right. I hope y'all enjoyed. Thank y'all. You have a good one.